Normal season, the biggest headline going into the final race of the IndyCar Series season would be the battle for the championship. But just like most things in 2020, this is not a normal year. Instead, the talk of the town is New Zealand driver Scott McLaughlin is making his series debut for Team Penske. Now I bet you're wondering, who is this guy and how did he end up with this opportunity?
Another milestone, 26-year-old Kiwi, Scott McLaughlin wins the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000 of 2019.
Now if you don't know who Scott McLaughlin is, then you more than likely don't know what the Australian VA Supercars Series Championship is. So to briefly go over what VA Supercars is, I'm going to hand it over to my pal Chris Aureli to explain.
Alright, now if you've never heard of the Supercars Championship or haven't found yourself tuning into a race before, first of all, come on, where have you been? You're missing some of the best road racing the world has to offer. Worry no more though, because I'm going to tell you as much as I can about Australia's top racing series in about 3 minutes. The series we now know as the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship began its life as the Australian Touring Car Championship in 1960. The early runners of the championship featured Jaguar Mark 1s and 2s, Ford Cortinas, and Morris Mini Coopers, among others. In 1965, the Confederation of Australian Motorsports, or CAMS for short, introduced the new Group C improved production formula to replace the original Appendix J cars. This saw the arrival of the Ford Mustang, Holden Murano, Chevrolet Camaro, and more. After the implementation of the next set of rules in 1973, the championship began to see familiar faces such as the Ford Falcons and Holden Commodores. But in 1985, CAMS dropped their Group C regulations in favor of the FIA-regulated Group A touring car class. Suddenly, the championship became dominated not by Ford Falcons and Holden Commodores, but by BMWs and Nissan Skyline GTRs. In 1993, 2 touring car championships ended up being created, in a split that eventually resulted in 2 Bathurst 1000s per season. More on that in a future video on my channel. Check out the link in Kyle's description. Since 1994, the now Supercars Championship has been contested almost entirely by Holden and Ford, with the exception of Nissan, Mercedes, and Volvo in the mid-2010s, which have all since left. The series currently races on a combination of permanent road courses and street circuits, with the 3 big races of the season being the Sandown 500, Gold Coast 600, and of course the Bathurst 1000. These 3 races are also the 3 endurance races of the season, where each team will feature 2 drivers per car to split the racing. Which, by the way, while we're on the topic of Scott McLaughlin, look up the finish of the 2017 Newcastle 500 after this video, and watch one of the most thrilling finishes of any motorsports championship. Just goes to show that a season-long championship fight can come down to the final minutes without giving the contenders equal points going into the race. Not that any series over here would do anything like that. Now, do I think Scott McLaughlin will have a breakthrough debut in IndyCar? It's not really my place to say. But if you take a moment to compare a V8 supercar and a modern IndyCar from a driving standpoint, there are more similarities than you may expect. For now, I'm going to turn it back to Kyle to tell you more about the driver himself.
Now that you understand what VA Supercars are, you now know what Scott McLaughlin dreamed of competing in growing up in New Zealand. Like most drivers, McLaughlin began racing in go-karts before joining the Super 2 series at only the young age of 16, becoming the youngest ever driver in that series. Scott spent 3 seasons in Super 2, with his best coming in 2012, where he would win 4 races and go on to win the championship. 2012 would also be the year that McLaughlin would make his VA Supercars debut at the Sandown 500 co-driving with Jonathan Webb at Techno Autosports. The duo finished 10th at Sandown and would go on to finish 6th at the Bathurst 1000 that season. Later in the year, Scott even got to sub for Alexander Premont at the Sydney 500 for Gary Rogers Motorsport, which obviously would pay off because that is where McLaughlin was signed to race for the next season in 2013. McLaughlin's rookie season resulted in 2 wins at Auckland and Queensland and a 10th place points finish. Not bad considering his win at Auckland would make him the youngest ever winner in the series. 2014 brought changes for McLaughlin as the team stayed the same, but the manufacturer changed as Volvo joined the series. This resulted in 4 more wins while finishing 8th and 3rd in the standings. It wasn't until 2017 when McLaughlin was offered the opportunity of a lifetime and a power couple was unknowingly at the time formed. The same year that McLaughlin started driving Volvos in 2014 was the same year that Roger Penske purchased a 51% stake in Dick Johnson Racing, the oldest team in supercar racing, and formed DJR Team Penske. So when the 2017 season rolled around, our young Kiwi got the call that every driver hopes and dreams of getting from Roger Penske. In their first season together, McLaughlin and Penske were already magic with 16 pole positions, 8 wins, and not to mention the Bathurst 1000 track record. McLaughlin wouldn't be crowned champion until 2018 as he was beat out in 17 to Jamie Whincup. In only 4 seasons, Scott McLaughlin and DGR Team Penske have captured 59 poles, 48 wins, and 3 championships, with one of those wins being a Bathurst 1000 victory to boot. It is truly incredible what McLaughlin and DGR Team Penske were able to accomplish in such a short time. So what happens when you win 48 races and 3 championships for the captain in only 4 seasons? Well, at the beginning of 2020, Roger brought McLaughlin over to the United States for preseason IndyCar testing to drive the number 2 car at Sebring and at Circuit of the Americas. Both tests went very well, with Scott running relatively quick times compared to his Penske teammates. Scott did so well, in fact, that he was given an oval test at the Texas Motor Speedway, and before the COVID-19 pandemic hit, he was slated to race in the GP of Indianapolis in early May. After the season resumed, the odds of McLaughlin getting a shot in IndyCar seemed slim to none. But after a last-second turn of events last month, it was announced that Scott McLaughlin would drive the number 3 Shell, Chevrolet, and a 4th car for Team Penske, which, if you haven't paid attention, Roger doesn't do a whole lot unless it has reason. One-off entries do not happen often at Team Penske. Most of the time, it's due to drivers stepping in because someone got injured. Only other situations similar to that of McLaughlin's would be 1991 when Paul Tracy began being groomed to take over for Rick Mears, and in 2009 when Will Power did such a good job replacing Helio Castroneves that he was given a chance in 3 more races, and the rest is history. One of the other rumors is that McLaughlin could make some NASCAR starts as well, which would be the most logical step to some people given that NASCAR's next-gen car resembles closer to a modern-day V8 supercar. So you add in the fact that from 2007 to 2014, Marcos Ambrose already proved that a move from supercars to NASCAR can be successful. But for right now, the path for McLaughlin appears to be IndyCar, and we'll just have to wait and see if he could have a future in NASCAR. So there you have it. That is everything you need to know about Scott McLaughlin and his many, many accomplishments. Let me know down in the comments how you think McLaughlin will do in his IndyCar debut. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and hit that subscribe button for more IndyCar racing content from St. Petersburg, Florida.